Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Have a seat.
Good to see you again.
It's good to see you again. Introduce yourself, if you would.
Sure. My name is Allison Spears, and I'm a current Brentwood City Commissioner. I've been in this role for 2 years. I've lived in the city of Brentwood for 16 years. I'm a Middle Tennessee native.
Yes, ma'am.
6 generations, although I can't take credit for that, but I am proud of that.
What have you accomplished in your 2 years that you're running on?
Sure. Thank you for asking. The last 2 years has been a great learning experience for me. It's been an honor to serve the residents of Brentwood and to be their voice. The most important thing that we have done, that I have been a part of, is that we've not changed any zoning in the city of Brentwood since I've been elected. And that to me is the representation of the Brentwood residents. That's what they want, for our zoning to stay right where it is. So that's been held. The next most exciting thing is that we've put an emphasis on veterans. Prior to me being elected, we did not have a Memorial Day ceremony or a Veterans Day ceremony for the city of Brentwood specifically. We joined in with other places in the county that did that, but a resident approached me and I said, yeah, I think it's time for us to do it on our own and to honor our specific Brentwood residents who are veterans. Because without them, we wouldn't be able to be sitting here today. So
I believe you had the first Veterans Day observance this past November?
We had our very first Memorial Day almost
Memorial Day?
a year ago, and that was a wonderful experience. And then a similar situation for a ceremony at Veterans Day.
Well, you're right. Every community needs to do that because there are veterans in every community.
And because of their sacrifice,
yes,
we have our ability to have a representative form of government. We also are going to start a permanent Veterans Memorial in the city of Brentwood.
Wonderful.
We don't have that, so we're still in the very preliminary stages, but it'll be coming, and I know the public is very excited about that.
All right. Those are your list of things to do. This election is different than other municipal elections. They have opponents. You don't really have an opponent.
But you're right, it's different. So in the city of Brentwood, we are
just top 3.
That's the way our charter works. We have 7 city commissioners, and we are all at-large members. So we represent everybody in the city of Brentwood, as opposed to having a ward or a district. And so I think that's great because it gives us the ability to make decisions for the entire city of Brentwood. For instance, on roads. Certain roads don't get more attention than others because someone is representing their district. We look at the entire road plan and we decide what is on the schedule that needs to be attended to next, and we invest that way in all of our areas that way. So this time what happens is we have 3 seats that are up for re-election, and the top 3 vote getters will be elected to the position.
There are some things I don't understand.
Me too.
And fortunately, I'm so late in my media career, I don't have to pay a lot of prices if I don't use my judgment. But here we go.
Okay.
From listening to the 3 prior candidates, there appears to be blocks on the Brentwood City Commission.
Blocks. Oh. I follow you.
It appears to be 4-3. Which block are you in?
Thank you for asking. Thank you for letting me talk about that. I think it's important. Before I was elected, there were many votes that were 4-3. So over the history in the city of Brentwood, there have been different votes that have been 4-3, 5-2, 6-1, 7-0. In other communities, there are most of the votes are split, if you will, like a 6-7 or a 7-6 or a 4-3. That happens a lot. In Brentwood, we actually agree a lot, and I think people don't realize that. So we have most of our votes are on what we call our consent agenda. So we agree that we all consent that we will vote yes on that. So since I've been elected, I haven't counted specifically, but we've had hundreds of votes. So we'll say maybe around 300 votes. And on less than 10 votes, we voted differently. On the rest of the votes, we voted 7-0. And when I speak to my other friends who have been aldermen or council members in other cities, they're shocked by that. And they're also shocked by how great our budget is. Our budget is in great shape. We live within our means. We have more than 100% of our operating expenses in a savings account that is not designated for anything else. All of the retirement for our employees is fully funded. We have replacement funds for our computers, our buildings, our police officer cars and fire trucks. We have all of that fully funded. Plus, we have this extra savings account that doesn't have a designation. So the city of Brentwood actually runs really well. And there are a few things we disagree on, and I think that's very healthy, because when we disagree, we can stop and get more information before we do make a decision. And for me, that's very important, getting information so we can make decisions. And a lot of the votes that we've had that are not 7-0 have been to stop, to pause, to get more information before we make a decision on a big investment.
Are you talking about the Racket Center?
Well, I'm also talking about road construction.
Okay.
And I'm talking about a few other projects that we've worked on, just to make sure that if we're going to do something, we want to do it right. The biggest mistake that we could make is to rush through something, build a building, build a road, and think, oh, we should have done that differently. And so it's imperative that we find out the information before we move forward. And that's what we've been doing on the Racket facility for the last 4 years, since before I was elected. This has been researched by city staff and the city commission. And then in the last 2 years, we've had many, many public meetings about it. They've been recorded. Residents can go look on the website to learn about that, watch and read. And it's a lot of information to take in. It certainly has been a learning curve for me. I don't play tennis. I don't have any experience in that, so I've had to learn a lot. But there's a lot of information out there to know and learn. There's also a lot of information that's incorrect. So it's important that residents go to the city website to get their information on that. So,
how did you choose? You've got a brand new city manager that will be starting here in a couple of weeks.
That's correct. Yes.
What about him won you over?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. As you know, we've had a long-standing tradition of not a lot of turnover in the last 30 years in the city of Brentwood.
Since Michael Walker, yeah.
And so that's very valuable to the residents of Brentwood.
I guess it's Frank Clifford. That goes back.
It goes back. So as a city commission, and for me personally, we all knew we were looking for someone who could bring stability, someone who could bring experience, and someone who could not have too much of a learning curve. Each individual that we wound up interviewing in the last round would have had some sort of learning curve, depending on where their strength, their skill set, from where they're coming from. But this individual who we've hired and who's coming, and we're very excited about, has had the best skill set, the most experience, and we're really excited about him coming. How
do you listen?
I have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah.
So it's my intention to learn. I'm a student of all things I'm interested in. So I want to learn and know. And then once I listen, then I like to ask questions so that I can be more informed. Than just hearing information is good to learn about, but asking questions gets to that next level, digs deep. So I have a phrase that I say, I need to ask the second, third, and fourth question.
From that standpoint, Brentwood is a much different place than it was 10 years ago. Of course, now you've only been on the city commission for 2 years.
That's right.
What did you do in those first 2 years that would warrant another 2 years?
Well, my veterans focus, I think, has been very well received.
So that's a platform check.
Thank you.
Okay.
I've also asked, again, a lot of questions for some process improvements in the city. The details may bore you, but it's been exciting for me to see that we can improve some processes.
When details mean tax dollars, they do not bore me.
That's great. Well, the great news is we have not raised taxes in the city of Brentwood. There's no plan to raise taxes for any reason in the city of Brentwood. And that's the point. We do more with less. We run lean. We live within our means. And so I've loved learning about the budgeting process. Our annual operating expenses are $56 million. Where that goes into, half of that is spent on, a little over half of that is, right at half of that is spent on public safety. Public safety is number one for the residents of Brentwood. If we're not safe, really nothing else matters. And so they say that over and over. The next thing that's most important to them is zoning. They want their zoning to stay exactly the same because that keeps the infrastructure strong. And when the infrastructure is strong, then their quality of life remains the same.
I'm a collector of agendas. I love to read agendas. when you read a Brentwood City Commission agenda, there's no zoning changes there.
Not for the last 2 years. That's right.
Zoning changes indicate primarily commercial growth.
That's right.
Or higher density.
That's right.
So when you don't change zoning, that means you have a pretty solid attitude toward growth. Is Brentwood built up?
Is Brentwood built up?
Is it built out?
Oh, we have still some area in our urban growth boundary that if property owners choose to be asked to be moved into the city, then we can consider that. That normally does happen. We normally invite them in because then we know what kind of growth we will be anticipating. They'll be using our roads and infrastructure anyway, so we know that we could help keep that in a certain spot. In terms of the commercial areas, Brentwood's plan, the infrastructure is based on its current zoning. And so if we add density to our commercial area, then it will tax and burden our infrastructure, and that will change the quality of life for our residents. And the last several major zoning changes have been for high density in our commercial areas. A vote for the Tapestry Apartments, which was a vote of certain people that are running for election right now voted for that. And so that is something that I would not vote for. I would not vote for high density in the commercial area, certainly not residential, but either in the commercial area either, or change the zoning in commercial from where it is to even higher commercial, even without residential, because there are levels of commercial levels that we could do. But my promise is that I will not raise the density at all in commercial areas.
Give me your elevator speech. We're almost done.
Oh, you're great. Thank you. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate your questions, your knowledge about Brentwood, your intentionality, and your conversational manner. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm running for Brentwood City Commission because I want to keep Brentwood Brentwood. We do that by keeping our zoning right where it is. And when our zoning is right where it is, our infrastructure stays strong, fire, police, water, sewer, our schools. Even though we don't own the schools, we are stakeholders in them. I've been heavily involved in the PTO.
You pay for them.
That's right. I was a Brentwood High School past president of the PTO.
Yes,
I just finished my role there, so I understand that very well. So, and that's what the residents of Brentwood want. They overwhelmingly tell me that they don't want Brentwood to change. They don't want more traffic. They don't want more density. So I'm their voice.
Well, as long as you're in between Metro and Franklin, I'm sorry, but you're going to have more traffic.
Well, it's true, and so that's why we can't. That's happening, and our roads. A lot of our roads in Brentwood we don't own.
Yes, that's true.
Or the county owns
that
them,
is true,
and we can't even pave a pothole on those roads. So we have to be very thoughtful about not overrunning our own infrastructure because we know people are going to continue to pass through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have I failed to ask you anything you were prepared to answer?
No, you've done great, and I really appreciate the time together.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Good to see you again.
Yes,
that is true. You've been there 2 years.
Yeah, well, and we've also talked. I'm a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Oh yes.
Old Glory chapter. So we've been on the radio together a couple times with
we
that.
We couldn't do a Veterans Day parade if it wasn't for the DAR.
It's a great group.